Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Fronteras, a Changing America. I'm Edmundo Resendez. There's a competition with a grand prize of $250,000 that incentivizes the creation of environmentally sustainable brackish water and desalination technologies that can provide portable water for humans as well as agriculture in developing countries. And there is a finalist from Alamogordo. My guest today is Randy Shaw, Brackish Groundwater National Desalination Research Facility Manager in Alamogordo. He is here today to discuss what the research means for New Mexico. Randy, welcome to Fronteras.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
First question I have is, how did the research facility become involved in this competition, and who puts it on? And by being a finalist, is it going to be just an honor to be nominated, or are you looking to win it?
Okay, so Edmundo, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has a program called Securing Water for Food, the Grand Challenge for Development, and it's funded with $32 million. They're partnering with an agency out of Sweden and another agency out of the Netherlands. And one of the things that they have done is they wanted to incentivize innovation in small-scale desalination using renewable energy. And they had no expertise in that area, so they started searching for agencies and people that had that kind of expertise and found the Bureau of Reclamation. And the facility that I manage is a Bureau of Reclamation facility. So as we began discussions with them and began advising them on technical matters related to desalination, we offered to use our facility in Alamogordo as the competition site for semi-finalist competition. Now, I'm not competing in this. I am offering the facility and building up the infrastructure for that particular competition. So the teams are coming. I would like to say I'm competing because I could use the money, but unfortunately I'm not.
Well, we'll talk more about the competition later in the show. Well, for those of us that are looking to really understand what brackish water is, could you explain to us what the brackish water situation is in the Tularosa Basin?
Okay. Brackish water is salty water, and it's not near as salty as ocean water. Ocean water can be many times more salty than what we generally call brackish water. But in the Tularosa Basin, I've read estimates that there may be as many as 30 trillion gallons of brackish water in that particular basin. But throughout the western arid states of the United States, there is brackish water in basins throughout those states. There's really quite an abundance of brackish water.
What is the process of desalination?
Okay, the word desalination just means to remove salt from. So there are a whole variety of processes and technologies for removing salt from water. And one that most of the audience may be familiar with, and that you may be familiar with, is reverse osmosis. And that is one way to do it, but there's also forward osmosis. There's electrodialysis, there's capacitive deionization, solar distillation, and on and on. There's nano filtration, and a whole variety of ways to do it. You can even use freezing water and thawing it to remove salt from water. So there's not any single way to do it. There's a multitude of ways in which it can be done.
Is there one process that's more popular or used more?
Yes, there is, and presently reverse osmosis seems to be the benchmark technology. They've developed it and refined it to the point that it's become much more efficient in terms of energy. The membranes are more durable. So right now, reverse osmosis is the main technology.
Let's keep it simple and start with 100 gallons.
Okay.
Let's say you get 100 gallons of brackish water. After the process of desalination, how much drinkable water or water that can be used for crops is left?
Okay, so again, it depends on the process you use. Some processes pull nearly all the salts out of the water, so that if you have 100 gallons of salty water, you may end up with 98 gallons of pure water and 2 gallons of highly concentrated salty water. That's some technologies can do that. Reverse osmosis, generally, what you might have under your sink might have 30% recovery. So with 100 gallons of salty water, you'd have 30 gallons of fresh water and 70 gallons of concentrated salty water as a result. And there are some plants that like salty water, so we're actually doing some research in which we're taking the salty reject water from reverse osmosis and irrigating some salt-loving plants and seeing if we can turn this concentrate into something that has value and that doesn't damage the environment.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
You know, using, recycling, what you've already have. Are there companies or organizations that have already found ways to use the salty brine for, for positive purposes?
Okay, that's an area of research, and the thing that keeps inland brackish groundwater desalination from really moving forward quickly is this whole problem of when you desalt water, how do I manage the salt that I remove from the water? And it's damaging to the environment. And there are several organizations that are doing research with how can you turn those salts into something that's useful. We have a client that will be coming to our facility to research out of South Africa called Trailblazer Technologies. They have an ion exchange process in which they take the dissolved salts in water and turn it into fertilizer products. And the wastewater, they claim with their technology, is pure water. So they make their profit with the fertilizer products, and they claim that they can sell their pure water at very low prices, agricultural level prices. So that's one innovation that is out there and that's being developed. I also have a client in San Antonio that is going to be coming and pilot testing at our facility, and they turn the salts in water into industrial chemicals. And he informed me recently that he has agreements with several industrial plants, and he's very close to building his first pilot plant with his technology.
Because you are a research facility, you are made available to researchers from federal government agencies, universities, the private sector, research organizations, and state and local agencies to work collaboratively and in partnership. What kind of research have you seen done recently at the facility?
Okay. Presently we have the University of Arizona doing this irrigation project of salt-loving plants using reverse osmosis concentrate. The concentrate again being the salty reject water. We have a company out of Boston doing research and developing forward osmosis technology. Forward osmosis has been around a while, but they're working on a specific pilot project for creating potable water from brackish water using forward osmosis. We had the Bureau of Reclamation worked with a company out of Austin, Texas this past year called Advanced Hydro that has a robust reverse osmosis system using an ultrafiltration system. It's got a patented means of cleaning the UF membrane, which tends to plug. And anyway, the Bureau of Reclamation had an agreement with this company. They brought their equipment to our facility, and the Bureau of Reclamation actually did the testing and the research, and that was done recently as well. And we have, one of our main partners is New Mexico State University, and they have a couple of pilots in our indoor test bay that were built. They worked with General Electric in building these. One is a reverse osmosis nano filtration pilot, and the other pilot is electrodialysis reversal. Two different ways of removing salt from water, and in the past, with the electrodialysis, it's an older technology, but they looked for a while at breaking all the rules with that technology and figuring out if they could even improve that technology further by just breaking the existing rules of that technology. So that's one small example. We had a company out of Houston doing research at our facility, and they created artificial seawater, and their technology was targeting enhanced oil recovery of offshore oil wells. And we had the University of Nevada at Reno at our facility working with pressure retarded osmosis. So it was a whole variety of clients and technologies.
You know, when I think of some of the research facilities that we have in southern New Mexico, I of course think of White Sands Missile Range, but you know, in what you're telling me about this research facility that's being used globally to do this kind of research, how did New Mexico and southern New Mexico come to have this facility where it's at?
As I understand it, Senator Domenici contacted someone at Sandia National Labs asking them what is needed in the water world. They collaborated with the Bureau of Reclamation, water people, and came up with several things, but one of them was a research facility for researching brackish groundwater desalination. And so that all happened from around, as I understand it, the year 2000, 2001, in that time era.
What other cities in the Southwest have these type of facilities, and what have they accomplished?
The city of El Paso has what's considered by many to be the world's largest brackish groundwater desalination plant. And when that plant is at optimal capacity, it can produce 27 million gallons per day of potable water. The way it does that is it actually cleans up using reverse osmosis and creates 15 million gallons per day of permeate, the really pure water, and then they blend that back in with the salty brackish groundwater and make 27 million gallons per day. In the process of doing that, they create 3 million gallons per day at optimal capacity of concentrate that they have to deal with. And the way they deal with it is they pipe it 20 miles away and deep well inject it into an aquifer that's saltier than the concentrate that they're putting into it. So that's right here in El Paso, Texas, which is not that far away. The city of Alamogordo is looking at building New Mexico's largest desalination plant. It'll be a 1 million gallon per day plant initially, but eventually could be expanded to 6 million gallons per day. So that's a couple of things that are happening just right here in the vicinity.
And when is that plant scheduled to be finished or completed or be operational?
I've heard various reports, and at one point I heard they would begin construction this coming fall. It may have been delayed due to some issues over where to exactly locate the plant.
For those of us that understand and study droughts, I mean, what would this mean to that area where they've had some serious drought issues, much like you know, throughout the state, but you know, with the fires that they've had, the loss of a lake, what would it mean to that community?
You have to have water to be alive and to grow things. And so if it's a farming community and they're in a drought, it's devastating. But if you have what historically has been valueless water, which is brackish water, and if you can turn that into an enhanced water supply, then you can maintain an economy even in times of drought to some degree. It has a ways to go in terms of development to be able to fully get there. But it can help a community keep its water supply, and without having to truck long distances water in those kinds of situations of drought or lack of water.
What kind of goals have been set by the research facility?
We have a number of goals. We have, and I call them focus points. We have focus on concentrate management research. So what can be done with this saline solution that results from desalination processes that's environmentally friendly and sustainable. We're focused on renewable energy and desalination hybrids, bringing renewable energy and desalination into a single system. And we're focused on small-scale desalination systems that you might use in a residence that's in a remote area where there's an abundance of brackish water. We're focused on public outreach and education, and we're also focused on produced water. Produced water is the terminology that's used for water that comes up in oil and gas production, and it's usually full of organics and salts. It's hard on the environment, and so there's research being done on how to clean that water and make it usable in some way and environmentally friendly. And I think I mentioned we're focused on public outreach and education, so we're real big on that. We're constantly looking for opportunities to educate the public and to get schools involved in what we do, and so that is a big emphasis with us.
Do the people in Alamogordo having this in their backyard understand the amount of work that's being conducted there and what it means? Because again, you've got the difference in the facility itself, and you've got a plant that's going to be doing this. Is this something that you have to work with city government to, educate them and lobbying legislators to keep your funding up? I mean, how does this work?
That's a really good question, Edmundo. The concept of a national desalination research facility came up around the time that Alamogordo was looking at building a desalination plant. And there was tremendous public confusion over this, and to this day there's a large number of people in Alamogordo, in the surrounding areas, that think we're a plant, that we produce desalinated water for Alamogordo. And we get the question a lot of times, how much water do you provide to Alamogordo? And we keep telling them we don't provide any, it's a research facility. So there's this, we're continually working at clearing up that misconception. And the city of Alamogordo really appreciates our facility. They know they've got a little hidden jewel there in this facility. And so I've had the city officials over, the mayor and the city commissioners, a couple of times, and I can tell that they appreciate having this facility there in Alamogordo.
How big is the facility itself?
We have a central research building. It's 15,000 square feet. It's sitting on 40 acres. And on that 40 acres, we have 5 acres of agriculture research, or an agricultural research area set aside, a large renewable energy research area set aside. We have 4 brackish water wells that have varying water chemistry, so a person can come to our facility and test 4 different kinds of waters at a single location. So we're a sizable facility.
And you offer tours to groups and organizations?
Absolutely. We offer tours everywhere, or to everyone from university professors to the Red Hatter Society and the Alamogordo Singles Club. And all of the tour groups, regardless if they're higher level academia or just community members curious what's going on, find the tours engaging. We get really good questions, and we can tell that the people are really interested and fascinated by what goes on there. So we love giving the tours. We encourage the public to contact us and to come by and request a tour.
What would a public member see or expect to see when they come to your facility?
When they walk in the door, they'll walk into, well, first of all, they're walking into a very nice building. It was built and opened in 2007. And when you walk into the lobby, there's educational displays around the lobby. We have an interactive display where you push a button and a little reverse osmosis system comes on. We have jars of salt that give you a feeling for how much salt is in brackish water and in seawater and in drinking water, so that people can get their arms around those concepts. That's all in our lobby. And then we have a 30-person conference room right off the lobby. We have a Miramax room with a large screen TV for tour groups to sit down on bleachers, little bleachers, and watch videos concerning our facility, concerning desalination. We have a laboratory in our central research building, 6 indoor test bays. And then you walk out back, we have 3 large outdoor test pads, a large-scale test area. I mentioned we have a project by the University of Arizona in our ag research area, so you can see these halophytes growing. And we have 3 evaporation ponds, so we have a lot of interesting things there at the facility.
And how many people are on staff?
I manage the facility, and I have a staff of 3. I have an electronic technician, engineering technician, and an operations assistant.
See, at Department of 3, it just seems that you must manage a lot of different things there. Or, you know, for such a what perceived to be such a large operation.
We stay very busy.
Really?
My staff, all of us stay very busy, but you won't. I really have a great staff. We enjoy working there. We feel really honored to work at such a place, and we meet lots of interesting people, entrepreneurs, and people with ideas that would like to bring it to our facility. And so it's been a real fascinating job, really interesting job.
Let's talk about the competition.
Okay.
How many teams are going to be participating, and where are they from? What segments do they represent?
Okay. When the USAID announced this competition, they received 68 applications from 29 countries around the world. A panel of judges went through those 68 applications and picked out 9 semifinalist nominees. Recently, 6 semifinalists were announced. And so we'll have 6 teams competing at our facility in April, the week of April, or it begins on April 7th and goes through the 13th of this coming April. And the teams, one team is called Team Green Desal, and it's an international team. It's comprised of an Israeli doctor, a Jordanian doctor, a Nepali doctor, a Brazilian doctor, and a doctor from the United States, North Texas University. And that's one team. We have a team from UTEP working with Suns River, another team from UTEP with their Center for Inland Desalination Systems, a company out of California called Atlantis with radial deionization. MIT has a team that's competing, and they're partnering with a company in India, and so they'll be there. Another company out of California called EconoPure will be at our facility. So we have an interesting mix of technologies. No one will be plugging anything into a wall outlet. This has to all be driven by renewable energy. So we'll give each team 3,400 gallons of brackish water, and so you have 24 hours to process 2,200 gallons of high-quality agriculture water and 70 gallons of potable water. And so we'll have 2 24-hour competition runs during that week. The judges will look at the data. The water samples will be sent to a laboratory. There's some strict water quality requirements they have to meet. And then from the competition at our facility, the judges will pick 3 finalists. Those 3 finalists will be taken to the country of Jordan and will compete at a remote agricultural station in the country of Jordan. And that's where the grand prize winner will be selected. And you mentioned earlier, the grand prize is $250,000. Second place is $100,000, and third place is $50,000. So a lot of money at stake here.
But also what's at stake, I think, is the research that's going to come out of it, of how to best work in desalination of this water.
Exactly, and it's exciting. I think we're going to see some very unique technologies, some of the best in terms of being connected with renewable energy and small scale. And so we're real excited about the event, and on April 11th of that week, we are opening the facility up for the public to come and tour the event. They will actually be on a 24-hour competition run during that Saturday, which is April 11th. We'll open around 9 o'clock in the morning and allow public touring until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Remind us again, how much water do they have to desalinate?
Okay, we're going to give them 3,400 gallons of salty water, brackish water. They have 24 hours to process that into good quality ag water and potable water.
And from there, the judges go through the process of testing it and seeing who the finalists will be.
And see which of these technologies makes the most sense for a developing country. And so that'll be one of the considerations, but they'll be judged on a number of things: percent recovery of all the feed water, all the brackish water that's fed to their system, what percent of it did they recover as fresh water. They'll be graded on that. They'll be graded on how they manage the concentrate that they produce in this 24-hour session.
Well, Randy, thank you very much for coming in to Fronteras to talk about your plant and facility, and I think it's fascinating, and encourage people to go take a look at it and really take a tour and see what it's all about.
Thank you for having me.
For Fronteras, I'm Edmundo Resendez. Thank you for joining us.